In this introduction tutorial for SENIB, I will talk about the most fundamental things of the program. I will also walk you through the purpose of all these sheets in the file onenewhouse.ods. If you have installed OpenOffice or LibreOffice correctly and have been able to start the file onenewhouse.ods and saved it under a new file name, in this case I've saved it as myhouse.ods, then you're presented with this screen and the first sheet, Start. It's important that macros can run when you use SENIB, and if you want to test if they can run, then you can always press this large button at the sheet Start and you will be presented with this message if they are enabled. A little bit below here you can read about some of the things that I'm gonna talk about in this tutorial. Normally you go from sheet to sheet in the order they appear and enter all the information that SENIB asks for. So let's go to sheet 2, temp, which stands for temperature. Every time you switch to a new sheet, I recommend you to hover the mouse over the most upper left cell of every sheet. That will present you with a comment like this one here to the right, where you can read about what the sheet is used for. So here we can read, on this sheet you can import outdoor temperature statistics, which is needed for recalculations. If you want to see a tutorial when I enter information into any of the sheets in this file, then you can just press the question mark button here at the most upper left corner. That will open your web browser and take you to a YouTube movie that you can maximize with this button and follow all the information that I enter for an example house. But now I will press Escape on the keyboard to exit the full screen mode and close Internet Explorer. Let's continue with the next sheet, EW, which stands for exterior walls. The quickest way to find cells that requires you to enter information, that is to look for cells with yellow background like these ones. So here in my example house, I have entered two different type of floors. There is a basement floor type and then the floors with apartments, floor 1 through 3. Here I've entered the length of the walls on these floor types. But as you can see, this row below only has white cells. This means that I need to enter information somewhere so these cells become yellow. And what I need to enter in this case, that is, if there were another floor type, I would start with the floor type name here, for example, floor 4. That made this cell yellow, but the second wall is still white. So if I enter a value here, for example 30, then all these other cells on this row became yellow and I can continue to enter information into them. Let's say now that there is another floor type. So I enter the name of it here, floor 6. Oh, then you can see all these cells turned into red. And what this means is that something has been entered wrong. It doesn't have to be in any of these cells, but in this case it is. And if you hover the mouse over the cell with the heading here, which has a little dot here up in the most upper right corner of the cell, this dot means that there is a comment in the cell. And in this case, you can read about how you need to specify the floor types. So what I've done wrong in this case is that I've specified floor 6 before I specified floor 5. floor 5 is missing. So if I change this into floor 5, all cells turn yellow, and I now know that I can continue to enter the information in a correct way. There are other ways you get stopped if you enter the wrong type of information. For example, let's say I enter a wall that is minus 10 centimeters long. Then you will be presented with this message box that says that you have entered an invalid value. It's not all cells though that has these checks, so of course it's important that you take care when you enter the information. Another thing that is good to know is that with the default settings of OpenOffice and LibreOffice, you can undo up to 100 steps, and you undo each step by pressing one time at this undo button. So every time you press it, you undo one step. If you're using Microsoft Windows, you can also press Ctrl Z on the keyboard instead. This way of undoing steps works very well, and it is one of the main reasons why OpenOffice and LibreOffice was chosen instead of Microsoft Excel, which sometimes prevents you from undoing certain things. Remember that sometimes you need to scroll vertically, but in this sheet you need to scroll horizontally to actually see all the cells that need data to be inputted. If you continue on the sheets here, you enter information about the house floor, volume and roof. And finally on the sheet size, you get an overview of all the measurements that you have entered about the house. When you continue on the sheet info, you enter more information about the house here on the left side, and on the right side you finally see some results of all the information you have entered so far. If you are interested in the calculations behind these results, then you can have a look at the sheet calc. In this sheet you don't need to change or add any information. Just have a look at it if you're interested in the calculations. For example, this is one of the most interesting cells, which shows the total amount of energy to heat the house in kilowatt hours per degree day. Let's continue to the next sheet. In this sheet you can enter meter readings for certain measurement periods in order to compare the actual energy use with the targeted one. These numbers here you can also show in a chart. If you, for example, select some rows for some measurement periods and press Show Period Chart. The sheets Apartment Type, Apartment, Apartment Adjustment, Other and Valves RAD are only used if you have a hydronic or water-based heating system. The sheets Apartment Type, Apartment and Apartment Adjustment are used to calculate the presetting values for the radiators inside the apartments. It's very important that you use all these three sheets to get the radiator presetting values and not directly just take the water flow in liters per hour from this sheet, for example. More information about these sheets you can of course get if you look at the tutorials by pressing the question mark button on each of these sheets. On the sheet Other, there you get which type of circulator pump you should install, and you also get which type of heating curve you should set in the control unit in the heating system. You will get more information about the sheets Vent and EW2 if you press any of the question mark buttons on those sheets. If you have not installed SENIB already and you need some help with the installation, then you can find an installation tutorial on the web page www.senib.com.